Which speaker type should you choose when you have, let's say, a more music-focused listening habit? Active bookshelf speakers like these, or a soundbar like this one? I got a couple of questions in a recent video where I was actually reviewing these. They ran by Kanto Audio, and that was the basic gist of the question. Should they go for the Wrens or some type of soundbar that is, comparable in price? Well, I thought about it and I decided that's a great topic to do a video on, so let's just talk about it in this video. All right, so first of all, let's lay a little groundwork here. I'm talking about active bookshelf speakers. What that means is these speakers actually have a power cable that hooks to them because the amplifiers are built into these cabinets. The same as a soundbar. You plug a soundbar into the wall, you have to plug these into the wall. I'm not talking about passive bookshelf speakers that, you have to bring in a receiver or some type of amplification to go along with it. I'm talking about active or powered bookshelf speakers, okay? I just want to lay that groundwork because I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is a, let's say, form factor difference. Active speaker versus active speaker, just different form factor, okay? So that's just the groundwork. Now, the first thing I want to say is, I'm just going to answer the question. Me personally, for music, I would choose the active bookshelf speakers, and these are the reasons why. Now, my first reason to choose active speakers over soundbar is driver placement. With the soundbar, you are limited to how wide the cabinet is, how big the manufacturer made it. So your left and your right speaker here is going to be about as wide as the cabinet, and you can't tilt them in or out because they are fixed here. Everything is fixed about this setup. Whereas with active speakers, you have a lot more flexibility. You can move them further apart. You can move them closer in. You can turn them in. You can turn them out. You have more flexibility. Typically, what you're going to be limited by is the length of the cable between the two speakers, or maybe the wireless signal between the two speakers, depending on the type of speakers that you buy. But you have greater placement flexibility with a pair of bookshelf speakers as compared to a soundbar. Now, the second reason I would choose an active speaker over a soundbar is connectivity. The Wren, along with a lot of speakers in its class, have a lot of connectivity options, including HDMI, auxiliary, RCA, optical, Bluetooth, subwoofer out, and this one even has USB-C connections, so you can basically connect all of your components and get sound out of this one. Whereas a soundbar will traditionally have like an HDMI, maybe a subwoofer out, and maybe one other connection like optical or auxiliary or something like that, but not nearly the number of options that you can get with something like this. So when you're listening to music and you want to connect your turntable along with your television, along with maybe some sort of computer or something like that, an active speaker is probably the way to go. Now, the third reason I choose active speakers over a soundbar is driver size, specifically the bass driver. This bass driver right here, and a lot of bookshelf speakers are going to have larger bass drivers than you can get in a traditional soundbar because the cabinets just aren't big enough. And what that means is you're going to get better bass performance and probably better mid-range performance as well, because the driver can move more air because it is larger. So from an overall experience standpoint, I think you're just going to have a better listening experience, especially to things in the mid-range and the low end, because you have bigger drivers and even a bigger cabinet with this type of speaker. So those are my reasons for choosing an active speaker over a soundbar for music. But if you mainly watch TV shows and movies, I would choose a soundbar. Not only do they typically have a left and right channel, but a lot of them have a center channel, side surrounds, and even upward firing drivers with Dolby Atmos decoding to give you a better movie and television show watching experience. So if you're mainly doing that, I would go for a soundbar. Now, for those of you who are like, hey, I'm 50-50, which one would you choose? I would go for the soundbar, again, because you get a good movie watching experience, but also a good listening experience when listening to music. So if you're right on the line, I would go for a soundbar. But if you are heavily into music, definitely go for the active speakers. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give us a thumbs up and drop us a comment in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you next time.